Hey guys, it is Saturday here in West Virginia, and today we're going to do a Super Stock Saturday. I finally picked up the last Hot Wheels Garage Series 63 Plymouth Max Wedge from the Garage Series. And I wanted to rip that open for you guys and show you the different variations of the 63 Plymouth from Hot Wheels and such. That way you guys know that there's a few of them out there and the differences and such. So anyways, this is the car I'm talking about that I finally picked up. It's the 63 Plymouth Belvedere 426 Max Wedge. This is the last year before the 426 Hemi was released. They had Hemis before then. They were just the smaller cubic inch ones, 350 something, and 392 was the most popular because I think it was the biggest cubic inch one up until the 426 was launched in 64. So anyways, they had these Max Wedge cars to compete with like Pontiacs and Chevys and such. And 64 was kind of like a revolutionary year for Mopar. And then 65 was a revolutionary year for Chevy because that's the first year for the big block. So yeah, a lot of stuff took place in the mid 60s that was really cool. But anyways, this guy looks just like a super stock car would have from the 60s. I don't think this was a true super stock. I don't think there was one called Hold Tight. There may have been. This may have been someone's hometown hero at the local drag strip, and that's what inspired one of the Hot Wheel designers to use that name. I don't know, but it does have like that 60s super stock paint job with those stripes going on the roof going. um Usually they have them on the roof, the deck lid, sometimes on the scoops. But yeah, that's very iconic. They even use these stripes on their Candy Striper, hence that name Candy Striper, I think. And that's, I think, what the drag racers call those as Candy Stripes. And the name Hold Tight sounds like something that you would have heard on, like, or seen on these cars in the 60s. It seems like one of those hokey like names that they would use. Then the name Plymouth on the quarter. The gold metallic flames. Yeah, probably. Usually on the super stock, so you didn't see a lot of flames. I don't know. It was more of like patterns and stripes and things like that. But it could have happened. And then these chrome reverse wheels look very good. And the back tire wheels are a little bit bigger diameter, but still yet they kind of go well together. It's not that noticeable because they did use a thicker sidewall on the back tire. So the other variant of this car from the Garage Series is this guy. And we unboxed him a while back. This is actually my favorite, the red one. Because this is your very conservative looking car, how it would have rolled right out of the dealer showroom and into your driveway. Then later on, if you were a drag racer, you would have took it home or took it to your paint shop, body guy, and had him letter it up and do his thing. But yeah, this red on red is very cool. This is a very iconic car. This probably had the aluminum front end, which are aluminum fenders and aluminum hood and front bumper to lighten them up because they had some big cars back then and they had to do things to lighten them up. And they had to be kind of, I think, factory issued parts. So that's why a lot of these cars were issued straight from the factory with aluminum pieces, fiberglass pieces. Even Pontiac Super Duty had holes drilled in the frame. They called it the Swiss cheese frame to lighten it up. So they did some crazy stuff back then to lose some weight on these cars. But anyways, this is the first appearance of the car in this casting. This is a retooled casting from, I think, 99. Uh, let's go ahead and get this guy out, though. I want to show you him up close. I've already cracked it. So, these are the older premiums. Unfortunately, they didn't add any like headlight and marker light tampos then. They did do tail lights though, but they weren't doing anything with the bases. Nowadays they do the bases, and even nowadays sometimes the bumpers and grills are separate pieces in the premium, so they've really stepped it up over the past decade and such. So really cool car. This guy here also, no front end tampos, but it does have the Plymouth tampo across the hood, which is really cool. Tampoed hood pins, detailed tail lights, deck lid trim with Plymouth on there again, the rear deck emblem. So they did take time to detail some things. The Belvedere fender tag. And then the wheels look really cool. These are kind of almost authentic, like color match Stillies with a chrome trim ring. And they would have had like a poverty cap. But a lot of times these old super stock cars, the guys would just run the front cap and no rear cap. Some guys would run no cap. So this is very authentic for how they would have looked back then. Now, as I said, that was the retooled issue. This car first appeared in Hot Wheels lineup in the 100% stuff. And it was used, I think, 4 times. And I have 2 of them to show you guys. This one here is the white variant. And maybe it was 5 times. I'm sorry. I'll go over all of them with you. And this car is one of those ones that was victim to the stupid rubber bands. This one didn't, however. Whoever bought this set, they took the cars out right away and displayed them elsewhere. This is from the Reggie Jackson car collection. It had this car, a Pro Street Purple 56 Chevy 210 two-door sedan, a 32 Ford Highboy Roadster, and I think a 40 Ford. But yeah, as you can see, it's got the cross-rammed Max Wedge engine. And this would have been an aluminum front end car because it says it's like 1 of 10 made or something. Yeah, they made very, very few of these cars. On the Reggie Jackson box, I cannot recall, but you guys probably can find it on Google. It says it's some super low number, like 1 of 10, or maybe even 1 of 100, but still, 1 of 100 is super rare. It looks really good in white with the black gut. And these wheels, the Krieger SS looking wheel, or even could say maybe they look like a Hildebrand slot style wheel, something like that. Very era correct. And you can see it has detailed tail lights, but it does have separate bumpers, which adds a nice detail, especially when you get around to the front. They have detailed the headlights in white and these signal marker lights on the fender, these vertical lights. Usually the marker lights are usually horizontal, but this vertical one that takes up the whole end of the fender is really cool. And it has opening hood, as I just showed you. Very detailed chassis. And unfortunately, with the 100% stuff, I wish they would have screwed them together, but they didn't. A lot of them were riveted, if not all of them are riveted. And as you can see, it's got the cutouts for open header. And then if you were on the street, you could close those off and have your full exhaust. Pretty cool detail that they added to the car. And that was from Reggie Jackson's collection. Now, the next one is Dick Landy's ride. And this is another one that was victim to rubber bands. All of them, actually, back in the 100% series, were victim to rubber bands, unfortunately. But this one, once again, made it out before they did any damage at all. So this guy must have unboxed his car like the first year he had it. Once again, very nicely detailed with the front end, this separate marker lights, grill and bumper, and such. And as you can see, it is the same casting. It's just retooled a little bit. They have the window bucket on this car has a little more detail. They did paint the vent window trim, whereas on the premium one, they don't add that detail. Nowadays, they may, because they do full out window trim on some of these cars they're beautifully done nowadays. So nowadays, if they would re-release this in a premium set like Boulevard or something, they may do it. They did release it in a 2-pack, and I do have it also. And start doing this casting. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll get that one because it is very handy. And I was wrong, yeah. Even though with today's technology, they still did not detail it. So this is the latest appearance of this car, done up in your red, white, and blue Mopar. That looks pretty cool, like that. And it has pretty much the same wheel, except they're done in like a gray steel finish. And this one also is lacking detail on the front end, and then the tail lights were done though. So yeah, I was wrong. Even with today's technology and stuff, they still did not paint these up. This came from the 2-pack from Target last year or the year before, where they reused the drag strip Demon 65 AWB. But anyways, back to the 100% stuff. So these are very sweet cars. Now, the other 3 appearances of this car, one of them I would like to get. It's called Melrose Missile. It's also based on a drag racing type of car. And Melrose Missile, I believe, was a true super stock car that ran the circuit back in the 60s. The problem with them, once again, is finding one without the rubber band impact on it. And the other 2, one is based on a NASCAR, actually. It's Richard Petty's 63 Plymouth. But I don't know, for some reason I just don't feel it in the NASCAR stuff. I feel it more in the drag racing thing, because I don't think they would have raced or put the lightweight aluminum front end car on the NASCAR circuit. I don't think that was its purpose. Its purpose was for the drag strip. The NASCAR, I think, would just use a regular 63 Plymouth, and that was it. But yeah, anyways, they had that one, and then they had one in a Hot Rod Magazine 2-pack. It had, I think, a 68 Olds 442, and then the 63 Plymouth. It was done up like a 90s street machine, done in a 2-tone, high-impact neon colors. I don't know if it was like purple and green or orange and green, something like that. And the back tires, I believe, were a little bit bigger on the back and such, but it was the same casting and things like that, but it was painted up to look like a 90s street machine. That I really didn't dig that much either, because I'm more into these more conservative, original looking drag racing cars. But yeah, there's 3 other ones out there in the 100% stuff. So you had 5 in the 100%, then they re-released it again in the Garage Series in 2011, and you had those 2, and then I think a year later, or no, actually I think it was about 2 or 3 years later, they came out with the Cool Classics. They re-released the car again in a gold Spectra Frost, I think is what they were calling it. But they were plastic wheel cars. That's where they had the retro slots. Actually, they're using them on mainline cars now. And they actually look really good. It's a nice looking plastic wheel. They look like the old ET slots, and they just called them the retro slots. And then after that, I think it was about 5 or 6 years, then we seen it here in the Target 2-pack. So cool casting. So that's a look at both variations of this casting. And I'll be doing another video with all the variants of the 65 Dodge Coronet altered wheelbase for you coming up in a week or 2. But yeah, Monday we're still doing our Mopar Monday. I'll be back with a look at a couple of drag strip Demon Dusters or a couple of green light cars. Not sure what I'm going to do yet, but you'll enjoy it, trust me. Tune in on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for watching.